Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. On behalf of my constituents, I rise to pay tribute to Her Majesty the Queen. We mourn the passing of an icon. She was admired across the world and touched our lives in so many positive ways. The Queen was a constant example of service, of duty, of wisdom, of dedication to her people, her country and the Commonwealth. These were her civic virtues, needed now more than ever. She began her life of service as a child and worked until the final days of her life. The tone was set during World War II when the then King and Queen chose to stay in London during the Blitz, and the young Princess Elizabeth joined the Auxiliary Territorial Army. When their home, Buckingham Palace, was bombed, the Queen Mother famously said that she could now look the East End in the face. Ever since then, EastEnders have embraced the Queen and her family with a particular bond of love and loyalty. Of course, today's East End is a very different place, more diverse and more connected to the rest of the world, and in particular the Commonwealth countries. Her Majesty reimagined Britain's post-colonial place in the world, and the Commonwealth has grown to 54 nations with nearly 2.5 billion people. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I can personally relate to the story of the Commonwealth as a child born in a Commonwealth country, Bangladesh, which joined in 1972. And I remember in 1983 watching with pride the Queen visiting that very new country with Prince Philip. It was a state visit and a big moment for a new nation. And it was a time and a moment that made us feel proud to be British, made us feel we belonged not only to this country, but also to the Commonwealth family. And across the Commonwealth, people are remembering when the Queen came to town with a great sense of warmth and affection. And here at home, in my constituency, I had the honour of receiving the Queen during the Royal London Hospital visit when the new facilities were opened, the hospital that was at the heart of our national life and at the epicentre of coping with the pandemic. The Queen's words during the pandemic was so necessary to give hope and comfort when constituencies like mine were hit so hard. And others have mentioned the Olympic ceremony, when one of the highlights was when it seemed that Her Majesty and her most loyal servant, James Bond, were parachuting into the Olympic Stadium in London's East End. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we pride ourselves in being the coolest part of the country. Her Majesty made us the coolest place on earth with that stunt. On behalf of my constituents, our thoughts are with her children, her grandchildren, her wider family, and her heir and successor, His Majesty King Charles III. Mr. Speaker, Her Majesty was unique. She radiated warmth. She embodied decency. We will never see her like again. We will never know such a paragon of civic virtue and a shining beacon of public service. May she rest in peace. Long live the King.